What's going on, everybody? Welcome to Crunch Time here on a Saturday afternoon. We got both sites with the same main slate. I like these middle-of-the-day main slates. It seems like everyone cooperates for it. I am Britt Devine here with my normal weekend crew. We got Tim, leader of the squad ride today. Let's go, Tim. We've got TJ with his new revamped room. TJ, what's going on, dude?
Not much. I'm in the midst of my very first 24 hours with solo baby. My wife is out of town, so my mom is here right now babysitting during the show. But first time, it's just me and the baby for a weekend. So enjoying that. That's been good. She's been wonderful and keeping busy. Lots of DFS, lots of rearranging of the whole entire basement, so I can make sure I get all my things and my posters up. But life's good.
Yes, very tough with one shot. I'm glad your mom's there, because watching a relative newborn while hosting, doing a DFS show, probably not. Well, actually, it could be really good for content, because who knows what would come up. But glad your mom's there. Tim, what's going on? Leader of the squad ride today. I let everybody. Dean picked me yesterday, and Sonny Gray did not work out. And the Cardinals, at least early in the game, they did come around at the end. Hopefully you can lead us to the promised land today. What's going on?
Yeah, I followed one of Charlie's picks on Scores and Odds. The prop model had it as well. I think it's the under James Paxton 4.5 strikeouts. So I got it around
up in my prize picks article today.
Oh, there you go. Yeah, so I got it around minus 120. I think the prop model got it like around minus 113, but I think if you can get it around minus 120, I still think it's a good bet.
Everyone's on that. TJ, I followed you in on that, so I got to make back my Sonny Gray dollars from yesterday. So let's get into today's baseball slate. Tim, I'm going to start with you. Pitching, we've got Garrett Crochet, probably going to be playing him. Don't see any reason not. Even on, I won't say a limited pitch count, but maybe a few less pitches as the season starts to wind down here for the White Sox, unless they trade him and he goes to a big contender. But for the time being, clearly the absolute top pitcher, maybe in baseball, with one of the best matchups possible, going up against Miami today. Is expensive on FanDuel, is a little bit more reasonably priced on DraftKings, but DraftKings has a plethora of $2K to $2,500 hitters today that I think make reaching him very attainable. Even on FanDuel, very attainable as well. There's a 2K hitter we'll talk about probably on FanDuel you're going to want to play. But clearly, number one top option, cash game, both sites. I think the bat actually had Hunter Green in as I was looking maybe an hour or two before the show. I'm not sure if that's still there. I'm overriding that. I understand Hunter Green against Detroit, but Crochet is just, this is about as good as it gets for one of the best pitchers in the league.
Yeah, I ran 150 lineups in our MLB SimLabs just to see if Sims wanted to take us in a different direction for leverage, but I got 85% Crochet, which is a humongous number for a pitcher that's that expensive.
Was that DraftKings or FanDuel?
DraftKings. It's on DraftKings, but I still think you should be playing him on FanDuel as well. But yeah, I got 85% on DraftKings. So you can make so many really, really strong teams with Crochet. Even if he only pitches, say, 85 pitches, I don't think it really matters. He should dominate this Marlins team. Strikeouts are king in DFS, and Crochet should get a lot of them in this matchup. So I'm not fading him in cash or single entry. And I think if I was making 20 teams, I'd probably put him in 20 out of 20.
Yeah, we'll get to SP2 in a second, but TJ, with Crochet clearly being the top dog on the slate today, let's me jump into you from a tournament perspective. We got Tim's take on it. What are you doing with Crochet today?
100%. I have Garrett Crochet in all 150 of my lineups today. Hit the lock button. It's just too good of a matchup against Miami, top strikeout pitcher in the entire league, one of the best matchups in the entire league, and one of the best ballparks in the entire league. So I got 100% Crochet today. The only thing that scares me is he does have an extreme hitters umpire.
Yeah, not enough to worry me on Garrett Crochet. I would be in agreement. I don't have any tournament teams. I have cash, clearly my top option today. So Tim, throwing it back to you. SP2 on DraftKings. Couple of ways you can go. I think Hunter, you can double premium today on DraftKings relatively easily with some good bets today. So if you want Hunter Green against Detroit, I don't see any reason why you don't want to do that. Is that what you're doing, or are you going? I think you can make a case for Taj Bradley. He's been really good outside of 2 starts. However, he's been absolutely elite at home, and all of his bad starts have been on the road. It's only 3 starts this year, but I did want to bring that up. I just think Green's probably the better choice for just a little bit more salary on DraftKings. You also have a couple of cheaper options. You've got Povich for Baltimore going up against Oakland, which is always nice. And Andrew Heaney against Tampa Bay does not deserve to be $6,900. He's probably a $8,000-ish arm if I was pricing on DraftKings today. So are you spending up, or are you going down to one of those cheaper options?
I'm playing Hunter Green in single entry and cash games, but I definitely understand if people want to play Taj Bradley. He's got a humongous K upside anytime he's on the mound. So even if this is kind of a tougher matchup on the road in Texas, I think he's completely fine for cash games and GPP. I really don't like paying down. Like, I get it. Andrew Heaney is probably technically too cheap, but I mean, he just terrifies me. So no chance. I would not consider him for cash games. I would not consider Cade Povich for cash games either. I really think if you're strictly playing cash, it's Crochet, and then it's one of Green and Bradley. And then, but for tournaments, I guess you can play Andrew Heaney. I actually don't mind getting to some Oakland bats, especially if Povich is going to be somewhat popular, and they're extremely cheap. So we'll talk about it, but you can stack Oakland with like any of the other expensive stacks on the slate. So I don't mind getting some Oakland bats on the slate.
Yeah, we've got Povich about 20% owned, so you'd be fine throwing in an Oakland team against a 20% owned pitcher that you don't like. I think that's a totally fine play. TJ tournament. So Hunter Green, probably the other top billing. If Crochet wasn't on this, we'd be debating maybe not 100% Hunter Green, but pretty close to it. Where do you stand on him? And then give me some of the other options you're looking at.
Yeah, I definitely don't think I'd be anywhere close to that heavy on Hunter Green. I actually like Detroit today. So Hunter Green, I'm nowhere near that high on him personally. He's actually my lowest owned pitcher of everyone in my pool at 10%. And everybody else, I have 15%. Rodriguez, Logan Allen, David Peterson, Cade Povich, Andrew Heaney, Taj Bradley, 15% of all of them, and then 10% Hunter Green.
So you mentioned, I like most of those other guys. You have no Mackenzie Gore, a guy who clearly has, to me, from a tournament upside. I think some of the people will be using St. Louis bats. So you can make a case for it. Gore has upside. Did he make your list, or did I miss that?
No, it's 100 degrees with winds blowing out. So no.
I absolutely understand that. I've got a couple of players to hit home runs in that game, but they got to hit the ball. Tim, would Gore make a tournament pool for you, or you're going to X him out just like TJ?
Yeah, I actually would X him out just like TJ. I'd rather get cheaper. I think Gore's in kind of a tough spot. It's a really bad price tag, $9,500 on DK. I would not spend up for that. I'd almost rather just go down to a Rodriguez. How much Rodriguez do you have, TJ? Do you have any?
15%. Yeah. Rodriguez, Allen, Peterson, Povich, Heaney, Bradley is just 15% across the board.
Yeah, I actually like Rodriguez the most out of all the cheap stuff. So I just really like that matchup. His pitch count is a little bit sketchy, but still he's only 6,700, so he doesn't really have to go that deep into the games. I'd much rather play him over Povich and Heaney.
TJ, what do we need likes to get from Spidey Bombs? 50. Will that get us one today?
Yeah, 50 for the first one. We are at 49 right now, so that means we're ready for Spidey Bomb 1. We'll get second Spidey Bomb at 75 likes, third at 100. So keep smashing that like button. The very first one of the day. Let's see. Let's go over to scores and odds. Let's see what his odds are. Plus 375 over at Bet Rivers. Oh, plus 390 at Bet Rivers. Now you can get him at plus 330 at DraftKings and FanDuel. It's Pete Alonso for Spidey Bomb number 1.
Yeah, Pete Alonso. I didn't write it up on scores and odds this morning because I figured Grant would. I don't know if Grant's put it up yet, but that was one of the first things I bet today was a Pete Alonso home run. I think I got it at 410 or 420 this morning for Pete Alonso. to hit a home run. And I'm just quadruple checking Pete Alonso. You can get I got a 390 on Bally. That's really just for me. A 360 Bet Rivers. Everything else is reasonably close to that. So you're probably going to get in those mid 300s, I think, for Pete Alonso. Absolutely love that today. One of my top DFS plays, someone I'm playing on both sites today, which we'll get to in just a minute. But let's go back to, what do we need? 100 for Spidey Bomb 2, TJ?
75 for Spidey Bomb 2 and 100 for Spidey Bomb 3.
All right, so keep hitting that like button, people. Let's go to offense in general. TJ, I'll stick with you. Maybe we can get Spidey Bomb number 2 at the end of this if the people click the button enough. What are we looking at for offense in general today? You mentioned that St. Louis game with huge temps, wind blowing out, humidity. Do you like that one? I absolutely love the Mets. I have their team total over 4.5 on Scores and Odds was my bet, and I think I saw someone else back me up on that as well, which is always nice when you're throwing a bet out to have another SAO person sort of be on the same thing as you today. We've got it's hot in Cincinnati with the wind blowing out. A lot of different places to get offense today.
I have 3 teams in my tier 1. Mets are my favorite stack on the slate today. Shout out producer Steve. Hopefully he's had a nice extra long weekend here, and looking forward to seeing him back in action. And hopefully we can get him celebrating a Mets win here over the weekend. But they're my top stack. Pete Alonso's my top play. That's why he's Spidey Bomb number 1. But I do have a tier of 3 teams that I like the best, and it's the Mets, Cincinnati Reds, and the Baltimore Orioles. They're going to be my 3 highest owned stacks today. After them, I am mixing it up a fair amount here. Pittsburgh, Washington, Tampa Bay, Toronto, Detroit, Cleveland, St. Louis, Seattle. All of these teams I don't mind today.
All right, let's Tim, anyone else you want to throw them there for cash games? Just basically looking through mine, it's a lot of Mets, it's some Cincinnati, there's just a couple of cheap bats we'll talk about as we get through here today, but the Mets are really my target between Alonso, Lindor, JD Martinez. They're all pretty attainable today.
Yeah, they're very attainable. And I would just mention that if you can get up to some, I know they're expensive, but if you can get up to some Baltimore bats, I think that they're completely in play also. So I really like Baltimore as well. I think Cincinnati would be my number 1 stack, and then Baltimore, and then the Mets. So I guess I'm a little bit lower on the Mets, but I still think they're a fantastic stack.
All right, TJ, we did cross 75. Let's get Spidey Bomb 2, and then we'll go position.
Spidey Bomb number 2. He didn't come through for us yesterday, but the matchup is even better today. It's a right-hander who is a fly ball pitcher. Let's go. That's perfect for Vladimir Guerrero Jr. Plus 400 today to hit a home run. He's Spidey Bomb number 2. And we are only 15 likes away from the 3rd Spidey Bomb because, like I mentioned last week, the Weekend Crew is just so good at hitting the like button.
Yeah, 400 on Caesars, Fanatics, MGM, if you're looking for the best lines on Vladimir. All right, catcher, Tim, probably Contreras on FanDuel is a reasonable. You're probably, between, if you're stuck at like 3,100, I think he's a reasonable bet over there today. You're probably not playing him over Pete Alonso if you're trying to make that decision over there. On DraftKings, I don't have a ton of salary to allocate to the catcher position today. So as much as I would like Contreras or a Rutschman, I'm probably down into the Tyler Stevenson, Carson Kelly tier. Do you have a preference of the cheap guys, a preference of the expensive guys?
Yeah, I mean, Adley would be my favorite out of the expensive guys. I think out of the cheap guys, probably would be Tyler Stevenson, just because I'm very, very high on the Reds. So, like, I don't think you should pay up in cash games at catcher. I think you should just pay down. So probably Tyler Stevenson. I really like Shane Langelier at 3,800. I don't think he's going to get very much ownership either. Like right now we have him at 3.33%. I mean, I think that's fantastic tournament play. I think Carson Kelly's okay, but I don't really love the matchup for him. I know his price is good, but I think for cash games, you're looking at Stevenson or Langelier, or actually Ruiz too. I would consider Ruiz at 3.3.
And then TJ, anyone you're home run hunting for? Langoliers or whatever, however Tim pronounced it. I don't know if I'm doing it or Tim's doing it right. Probably Tim. If you're home run hunting, that does look like a very nice spot for low ownership today.
Real name is Langoliers, but the Roto Grinder's name is Langelier because he's a Frenchman.
All right.
The guy I'm looking to go to for power and just as my favorite catcher on the slate is actually Luis Torrens, somebody who's just been smashing the ball for the Mets in a limited sample size so far, batting 6th for them. And he's my highest owned guy, followed by Contreras, Stevenson, Carson Kelly. And then after that, it's only in stacks.
All right. First base, Pete Alonso. Definitely my guy, Tim. FanDuel, 3,300, way too cheap. Even DraftKings, 5,700. That is a lot for any singular player on most slates, specifically if you're doing double premium pitcher like I think we both are. But we'll talk about ways to afford that as we progress here. He's definitely making my DraftKings team.
Yeah, it's incredibly easy to fit him on DK, and his price on FanDuel is way too cheap. So he's definitely the chalk first base option. He's the cash game first base option. So it's pretty easy for cash games. For tournaments, I don't mind pivoting to some of these reds. Like you could play Spencer Steer at 3 positions on FanDuel. I like Candelario also. So I do like Cincinnati quite a bit. I do like some of these Baltimore first basemen as well, like Ryan Mountcastle, Ryan O'Hearn batting 4th, like 4,200 for those 2 guys. And this matchup feels really, really cheap to me. And then I think playing JD Martinez at first base and then possibly fading Pete Alonso only in large field tournaments. But I think that's a really good way of getting different with one of the best stacks on the board.
Why not both?
It's only projected for 5.3% right now.
It's good. I just was looking at that, and there's no way he's going to be fine.
I don't think that. That's why I didn't bring it up because I
nobody likes playing him.
You know, he's definitely going to be higher than that today.
I bet single digit though.
Like
the bat has him at 14.
Are we talking
right in the middle? I bet you it's right in the middle at 9.
Yeah, right.
Are we talking like in the $18 TJ? He's gonna be double digit? No.
Yeah, like the 150 max.
I think he'll hit double digits, barely. Maybe like an 11.
Let's over under at 9.9% ownership. How do you think it's going to be over or under? I don't have the access to do polls in the YouTube, but over under 9.9% owned for Pete Alonso.
In the $18, I'm going to take the over.
Yeah.
Or the $15, the $15, yeah.
All right. There's a Yepes for the Nationals is 2K, but your best use him at third base. He's one of the reasons you're going to be able to afford a guy like Pete Alonso. As you know, there's a couple of very cheap hitters. Yepes is 2K on DraftKings, but you're probably going to want to use him at third base and put in Mr. Pete Alonso at first.
So TJ, on that note, I don't actually have a whole lot to add at first base. Like I love Vladimir Guerrero and Pete Alonso. Obviously, they're Spidey bombs. I love Candelario and Martinez, but I should have mentioned this at stacks and I forgot. I usually run in my 150 lineup set mostly 5-3s and then some 5-2s and a tiny amount of 5Xs. So like 5-1-1-1. Today I'm doing basically very, very few 5-3s and doing pretty much exclusively 5-2s and 5-1-1-1s. And the reason for that is because I want to play a lot of Garrett Crochet. And one of the easiest ways to save salary today is to utilize not just Yepes, but the multitude of 2K and just below 3K punts on DraftKings today. Michael Taylor, Juan Yepes, Parker Meadows at 2,300, Angel Martinez for Cleveland batting second at 2,500, Malloy at 2,500 for Detroit, Daz Cameron leading off for Oakland, Carson Kelly batting 5th. I'm doing a lot of full stacks using expensive stacks with crochets and then punting with multiple of these 2K guys.
Yeah, there's a lot of sub 3K guys on DraftKings today to make it work. And I think you actually have there's a couple of very tough decisions, I think, in the outfield for which cheap guy, and we'll hash that out a little bit for everybody when we get there. Second base, Tim, what are we doing there today? On FanDuel, you've got Angel Martinez for Cleveland. all these minor leaguers for Cleveland, you look at their stats, they've just been mashing and having great minor league seasons. They're coming up and put in great lineup spots. It's not the easiest assignment today against San Francisco, but he's 2K on FanDuel. He's 2,500 in the outfield on DraftKings. You might want to play him there as well. But he just allows you to get basically, he's one of the reasons that lets you get everything that you want. Pitching, bats, everywhere else. He's got a good lineup spot. He's probably my main target at second base on FanDuel. On DraftKings, you've got Mr. 2-home run Colt Keith at 3K. You've got Jonathan India at 4,100. Those are probably the only two options you should be looking at.
Yeah, it's incredibly easy on FanDuel. You're just playing Martinez in cash games. But my favorite play at second base is Jonathan India. So I'm definitely going to be playing India, my single entry team. I'm very high on the Reds today, so he's going to be in my single entry team. But yeah, you're playing Martinez in cash on FanDuel, and then I think other options maybe. I guess you can play Colt Keith if you absolutely need the savings. He's 3K. Just I don't like the matchup. I'm rostering green, so I'm not going to play Keith in cash games. Certainly can't fault anybody if they want to do that. But I think everybody else is pretty much too expensive for cash. So I think it's really India or Keith if you want to go that route.
Now, TJ, I see you gave away Spidey Bomb 3 before you talked about it. Let's get that out of the way. And then not only is a 475, I just got a 540 on Bet Rivers for this guy.
Beautiful. Yeah. Jose Siri batting 5th today for Tampa, going up against the lefty Andrew Heaney. Jose Siri is Spidey Bomb number 3. We get up to 125. We got a 4th one for the people. I just like dropping it in there as soon as we hit the like threshold so that the people don't have to wait in case they're doing any bets, in case they're doing any home run DFS contests. So Jose Siri number 3, get the likes up to 125 and we'll get another one. I basically just swapped the ownerships on Colt Keith and Jonathan India. So I have 24% Keith and 12% India. Keith is my highest owned bat on the slate today. Other second basemen I like are Westberg, Nick Gonzalez, and Spencer Horwitz. Don't mind some Luis Garcia Jr. Other than that, just in stacks.
You heard Tim talk about the Sims a little while ago. If you want to check it out, you do need a Roto-Grinders premium subscription. I'll tell you about that in just a little bit. But SimLabs is an expert DFS lineup generator tool from Roto-Grinders and Fantasy Labs, available for PGA and MLB currently. And with a few clicks, you can have hundreds of well-built correlated lineups for whatever contest you're playing. You can get access to that with that Roto-Grinders premium subscription. I'll just do this too while we're here. If you want a Roto-Grinders premium subscription, you can get a 6-month combo sub for $469. That saves you $250 instead of buying 6 individual months. If you're a first-time user, you can get your first month of Roto-Grinders premium for $40 off for a limited time. And if you want to take a test run, you can get a 3-day pass for $19.99. Get your lineup HQ, plate IQ, access to all the articles. You get the SimLabs. Lots of tools you can get at Roto-Grinders, basically all bundled into one. Let's go to third base. DraftKings, Juan Yepes, that's where he's slotting in for me today. On FanDuel, I know TJ liked Vlad Guerrero. Well, you can play him at third base after you slot in Pete Alonso at first base. You get 2 Spidey Bombs. That looks good for my FanDuel team today, TJ. Tim, what are you doing on the 2 sites?
Yeah, you can definitely play Yepes on DK for the min. I think that's a pretty obvious choice. I do like. I don't mind Vientos also at on DK at 44. I don't mind Marte either at third base as like a GPP pivot as part of that red stack. I don't think he's going to go very highly owned. I think Ahmad Rosario at 3,100 is a decent play. And I think Sosa. I think there's a lot of like decent, like strong valued third baseman today. And then like we've got Dave Potts, who's tagging Matt Chapman, who is also a fantastic play. So third base is a really strong position, but I don't think it's necessarily one that you have to spend all the way up for.
Yeah. What are you doing? Tim has a lot of targets. I'm assuming you do too, TJ.
Oh, wow. Ben Rice, 3 home runs today for the Yankees.
Where's the 3 home run ticket? Someone's going to have that at what plus? What do you think of 25,000?
So imagine getting yourself a nice 3 home run parlay with Will Smith last night and Ben Rice today. Mark Vientos is my highest owned guy here. I love the Ahmed Rosario call. I think he's a great cheap punt, as is Juan Yepes. And then Jordan Westberg's the only other guy I'm getting to a lot here. I don't mind Brian Hayes. And then we're going to get a really low-owned Jose Ramirez today. I think he's a great tournament play.
Shortstop, Tim. On DraftKings, this is a position you do not want to go cheap at today. You want to play De La Cruz, Gunnar, or Francisco Lindor. If you have extra money, do you have a preference towards the top? I didn't have the money, so I'm on Lindor, I think, on both sites. How are you handling it? Just a position. I mean, there's too many good players at the top for me to go cheap.
Yeah, this is a fantastic position. It is most days. I'm going with Ellie. If people want to go Henderson or Lindor or even Abrams, to be honest, I think that's fine also. It's really up to you. But one of those 4 premium shortstops, I think Corey Seager is a really intriguing tournament play. He's going to be very, very low owned. So I think Seager is a fantastic tournament play, but I don't know, unless it's part of a stack, I probably wouldn't go below Seager, unless it's part of a stack, but Ellie is my favorite and the one that I'm playing.
Yeah. TJ, how are you handling this with just so many good bats? Are you sort of conglomerate, or I don't even know whatever word I'm saying. Are you congregating? That's what I wanted to say, around the top, or are you going somewhere else?
Lindor is my highest owned. I have the exact same amount of Gunnar and Ellie De La Cruz at 18%. Then it's Corey Seager and CJ Abrams for me, and only tiny percentages of anybody else in a stack.
Yeah, I just go all in on the top bats. I think at the position is definitely a good way to go. Did we get enough likes for the last Spidey bomb, the number 4? We're at 113, I see here. So we need 12 more likes, people? We can
12 more likes.
Right? Yeah, 12 more, and I'll make sure we have the best odds for that. I'm following TJ in on all of these so far, so I like all of these. Let's go to the outfield, Tim. Let's talk. If I had money, I really think Luis Robert is probably one of my favorite bats, but I cannot get to him on some of the teams I've made today because I'm spending on pitching, I'm spending on Pete Alonso, I'm spending up on shortstop. And I think there's enough other options in the outfield that I don't need him. Starting with maybe JD Martinez. I think he's pretty attainable on both sites. He's basically, I think he's even a better hitter against lefties this year than Pete Alonso is. So definitely like him. After that, where do you want to go? Because you're probably on him. Then you probably have someone a little cheaper than him. And then you're probably on a value bet, I think, on both sites. Am I wrong? How are you handling the outfield?
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to play Angel Martinez in cash games on DK at 2,500. So that is definitely going to be the punt.
Me too.
Yeah, I mean, that's just too cheap. Good lineup spot. Not a horrible matchup. So it's definitely a spot that I'm completely fine playing cash. Kind of worried that I'm trying to find his ownership real quick. I guess he's not going to be that highly owned, so he's fine for tournaments as well. Spend up options. Personally, yeah, I don't agree with Robert, but I mean, he is obviously a tremendous hitter. I'd much rather get to, one of these Mets guys like Brandon Nimmo or JD Martinez. I'd rather play Spencer Steer. I'd rather get to one of the Cincinnati bats. I really like Anthony Santander also. So just for me, I personally don't really want anything to do with the White Sox. I know that Robert is a tremendously good hitter, but I'd much rather get exposure to the Mets, the Reds, or the Orioles.
Yeah, I understand that. I think there's a lot of ways to make the DraftKings team. So I'm also on Martinez. I just want to go over for the people, maybe you don't know, there's Palacios for Pittsburgh. He's 2,500. He's hitting 6. There's a lot of power there. There's who else is down here? Noel for Cleveland. He's hitting 6. He's 2,800. You said you were playing Martinez. I am also playing Martinez, but I think I would play both of those guys were in my consideration. And then you have the Detroit bat of Malloy. He's hitting 6 against Hunter Green. There's just a lot of cheap options. You probably don't want all cheap outfielders. You could probably squeeze in 2, maybe for a tournament team to upgrade everywhere else, but there are a lot of cheap options on DraftKings today. TJ, what's the option? Let's start cheap, actually. What's like the sub 3K ownership look like for you?
That is difficult because it doesn't have their prices beside their names when I'm looking at my lineups and my exposures. But in terms of just cheap guys that I have a lot of, Jose Siri, 18%, Angel Martinez, 13%, Nick Martini, 12%, Daz Cameron, 12%, Cedric Mullins, a little more expensive, 11%, Benson and Fairchild, 7%, Parker Meadows, 7%, Malloy, 7%, Palacios, 3%. That's kind of like my rundown of the cheapies. JD Martinez is my highest owned outfielder. Anthony Santander right behind him for spend ups. I'm getting a lot of Riley Green today. I love him for tournaments. I like George Springer back in the leadoff spot, and Luis Robert I think makes a very interesting one-off. James Wood, 4,100, batting third today for Washington. I also really like.
All right, we did get past the like threshold. I see you're targeting a player in that Reds game. Who we got?
Yeah, so I gave a 2-for-1 special for a total of 5 Spidey bombs just because these are both very well-known, high-priced players. But you can't ignore these odds. Gunnar Henderson at plus 440 on FanDuel. I get that it's Oakland and it's a bad park, but it's a terrible pitcher. And the guy's third in the league in home runs. Why is he plus 440? He should be plus 300 or below every single night. So Gunnar Henderson added to the list, and same thing for Ellie De La Cruz. 425. Come on.
How about a 450 on Ellie De La Cruz? That's on Fanatics. I'm clicking that in right now. How's that sound for you?
Even better.
All right. And then let me just make sure. Who was the other one that you had? I forgot. Gunner.
Plus 440 on FanDuel.
All right. Let's see. I got Gunner. I'll get that in just a second. Looks like it's down to a 430. We were moving the odds, so it's down to a 430 on FanDuel currently. So that seems I'll still get that in. That's a very nice odds for Gunner. All right, so that's going to open it up for questions for the next, 10 minutes or so as we close out the show. If you have any, you can go to the YouTube chat, or if you are in the Roto-Grinders Discord, you can go to the live stream chat, and we will be answering some questions for that today. So the first one, Crazy Coop wants to know, Tigers bullpen game. Yes, so it's I forgot. I know DraftKings had the probable long reliever. So who's going first? And then they've got Breesky, who's probably going to come in for maybe 2 innings after it. He's reasonably good. I don't think their opener is all too good. Nobody's really scared on that today using the Cincinnati. That's correct.
I'm not. I think it's supposed to be Fado.
Fado, yeah. So not scared off. I don't know. Give me more Cincinnati bets. I definitely am on board using the Cincinnati.
Yeah, that doesn't scare me at all.
All right, so Riley wants to know, this is a 2 for Ramos and Alonso, or Rutschman and Martinez. I would probably, as much as I like Alonso, Rutschman and JD Martinez sounds pretty juicy.
Yeah, I like that. I like the second one more, but they're both pretty good.
Bonesy, FanDuel single entry. We'll go to TJ. Siri or Woods? Because I like Jose Siri. I know he's your Spidey bomb. Woods is I almost bet him for a home run. His odds were just, I think it was 450. If it was like 500, I probably would have pulled the trigger on him today.
I love Siri, but it's James Woods.
All right, hold on. My phone's talking to me because we were talking. Just kidding. It's not, but it could possibly be. Never mind. Horrible joke. Let's see here. Paul Hauser, play one player against one of your pitchers today. So I think if you like, I'm playing Hunter Green in cash, and I'm looking at Keith from Detroit for 3K on DraftKings. So I can't lie to you. Yes, you can play one of your players against your starting pitchers today. Just probably not a Miami bat against Crochet. Does that sound reasonable today, Tim? Basically, just because of Keith's price on DraftKings, and I know you like. Was it you that liked some of the Detroit bats, or was that TJ?
That was TJ. I'm pitching green and I'm playing India at second.
Yeah. Let's see here. 2,600. So we've got 2,600 on FanDuel, Tim.
Yeah,
Let's see what we can find.
It's Cedric Mullins, actually.
What? Cedric Mullins was your guy. I haven't delved that deep. Let's see here. So I've got the Roto Grinders projections pull up. So Mullins, I would play him probably over Slater. If you needed a little cheaper, I think Benintendi's 2,300. You've got Martini or Mullins, or if you need just a little bit more salary, I would probably go to a guy like Benintendi. That would probably be my order. Does that sound reasonable, Tim?
Yep.
All right, let's go single stat home run. No, we don't have any of that. Let me go to the live stream. Don't see any of that. Tim, why don't we circle back to pitching real quick? Guys, keep getting in your questions. There's still plenty of time for people to make some changes. What are we looking at in pitching today?
Yeah, I think we're looking at a lot of Garrett Crochet in tournaments and cash games. Doesn't matter. I think you're starting with him on DK and FanDuel. I'd be getting a ton of him. I think TJ said he's getting 150 out of 150. I really like that play. Played the right plays aggressively. I'm going Hunter Green as my SP2 in cash and in single entry. I think just his leash is so strong, and I think the matchup is pretty good. So I'm going to stick with Hunter Green in cash. Taj Bradley, if you don't quite have the money for Green, I would go with Taj Bradley as my next favorite. And then I think, I don't know, I don't really like Andrew Heaney or Cade Povich today. I understand if people want to play them. I guess it's okay. I like Yariel Rodriguez for Toronto. He's my favorite of the cheap guys. So he's the guy that I would punt with if I needed to find a punt at pitching on DraftKings.
All right, TJ, for the MMEers, what's the pitching ownership look like for you as we close in on lock?
100% Garrett Crochet, playing him in every single lineup. And then I'm basically just splitting out evenly after that. I'll be lowest on Hunter Green. I only have 10%. I'm also stacking up a lot of Detroit today. Taj Bradley, Andrew Heaney, Cade Povich, David Peterson, Logan Allen, and Yadiel Rodriguez. I have 15% of each of them.
All right. I scrolled back. I found Jorge Soler. A little bit of a disappointing season. Would you play him in cash today, Tim? If I need like 10 more roster spots, he might make it, but he was, certainly not a player I was actively targeting today, even though it's a okay spot for him today against Allen, not the greatest pitcher in the world.
Yeah, I mean, he's that question was specifically for FanDuel. He's only 3K on FanDuel. I think that's okay. Batting leadoff. I think he would not be a guy that I would necessarily play in cash because I think that there are better outfielders, but I think he's okay. I don't think it's a horrible play.
Would you play him or a Rosarena?
That's a good question. I'd probably play Soler. I tried to play a Rosarena in single entry last night at 5% owned. His first at bat, he hit one 400 feet, but it was an out, and that was it. So
right at 3K, it is tough between Soler or Rosarena. I even think McCutcheon's a reasonable good play against Peterson. Peterson's not having the greatest season. You definitely, if you don't have JD Martinez, find $100 to get him into your FanDuel team. But I think if you're on 3K, it's basically a coin flip between a Rosarena and Soler for me. If you had to choose between the two, and I don't know, McCutcheon, I might almost flip all that and play McCutcheon against Peterson here. Lead off hot, wind blowing out in Pittsburgh. That game I think it's a 9.5 total, creeping up towards 10, which that literally never happens at Pittsburgh. So the game's going to go 1-0, but everything is pointing to that game having a lot of offensive fireworks to me. I don't think McCutcheon is the absolute worst play. Personally, tournament FanDuel pitcher today. Do we need to I didn't make tournaments on FanDuel. I don't know. Are you partaking in that, Tim, today? What does a stack look like with Garrett Crochet if you try to make that work on FanDuel?
I mean, it's incredibly easy to get a stack with Garrett Crochet. I don't know if TJ has any thoughts on this. I wouldn't get cute. I would just play Crochet in my FanDuel tournaments. large field or single entry. I don't want to pay 10-3 or 9,600 for Green or Gore when I could just go up another 1,000 more for Crochet. So there's enough value that you can easily get stacks on FanDuel and get Crochet.
What do you think, TJ?
Couldn't agree more. Doing the exact same thing. I would be loading up on Crochet there in tournaments as well.
All right. I know Tim was on Rodriguez over Povich, and I think Tim didn't like Povich at all. He's going maybe with some A's. TJ, do you have a take between Rodriguez or Povich?
Probably a slight edge to Povich. I think the ceiling is probably a little bit higher just because Rodriguez has the pitch count. So if I have the $500 Povich, but if the $500 allows me to upgrade elsewhere, Rodriguez.
So I see someone Crochet just likely have a limited pitch count before his final. When is the All-Star game?
No, it's his next start where he's going to have the limited pitch count.
All right, so that's not today. All right, so I said after today he's going to have a limited one before the All-Star game. All right, so we don't have to worry about that today then. You're sure?
I mean, we haven't projected for 89 pitches. It wouldn't shock me if you got like 84 pitches, but I don't really care. So, yeah, I'm not that worried about it.
One's All-Star game. Oh yeah, that's not till the 16th. So he would get one more start.
Yeah.
He would basically pitch the day before or the two before the All-Star game.
It's his next start where you really have to be concerned.
All right, yeah. So not too worried about that today. Literally, basically not worry about it at all.
Jose Miranda just became the first player in over 70 years to get a hit in 12 straight at bats.
Yeah, and Ben Rice is the only Yankee in history to ever have 7 RBIs from the leadoff spot. So a very strange player is going in the history books today. So there's who, if you had the Ben Rice and Jose Miranda hitting the history books on FanDuel today, congratulations. I'm sure they offered some sort of prop like that. Let's see. Anything else? We're about 3 minutes to lock. Got to check the live stream chat. Don't see any in there. Real quick, TJ, give the people the Spidey bombs. I'll throw a couple of bets. And Tim, if you can muster up a tater, we'll get on out of here after that.
Pete Alonso plus 375, Vladimir Guerrero plus 400, Jose Siri plus 475, Gunnar Henderson plus 440, and Ellie De La Cruz plus 425.
All right, so the only bet I put up on scores and odds today, you only have a couple of minutes to get this in. If you want to tell me, your best bet's probably to go to DraftKings, honestly, would be the Mets. Team total over 4.5. They've cleared that in 9 of their last 11 games. Now they failed in the last 2, but against Bailey Falter, the bullpen, this Mets offense is hot. They're hot against lefties. I'm expecting them to have their plate IQ against lefties is off the charts. I'm expecting them to have an absolutely massive day today. Did I stall enough for you, Tim, to creep in an extra Tim's tater?
Yeah, I'm going to go Brian Reynolds plus 630 on FanDuel. He's plus 550 on DK.
Yeah, I did that earlier. I think I got a 700 on him.
Wow.
Yeah. This was earlier. It was on. Yeah, it's off the board on Bet Rivers and Valleys, but I think that was a 700. I specifically remember that. But the 630 is definitely good enough. I don't understand. He started off. The Pirates all started off real slow, but he's starting to turn it on, and his power in this game should play pretty well. I absolutely love that. So if I didn't bet that already, I would have jumped in on that one. Last look at final questions. Don't really see any. I think Dean asked you earlier, Tim. What's Tim's plans for the rest of the day? Was Dean trying to figure out what you're up to?
I'll be on Sirius XM with Dean at 5:00 Eastern.
All right.
So
all right, that's
5
to 7, right?
DFS. 5 to 7. That's right.
Yes. So if
we're gonna be drafting some best ball teams live.
All right. Always a good time. Good luck on the Sirius XM. If you need any more from Tim, you can get 2 more hours of him with Dean. 5 to 7. That's 187 on Sirius, I believe. I think so.
I believe it's 87.
80. Yeah, I know it's 87. I have it on all the time in the car. But yeah, go check out Tim and Dean on XM. TJ, good luck with the baby the rest of the day. Or actually, is that the whole weekend you're all alone?
Till tomorrow. Just till tomorrow.
All right. Well, good luck with that. I know that's a very tough, so I wish you the best in that. And I wish everybody else out there a good day. For Tim and TJ, I'm Bert. Thanks for watching, and we out, you.